Hey everyone. Okay, in this video, let's talk about Tomorrowland. Tomorrowland at Disneyland and the possibility that we're getting a new Tomorrowland sooner than we think. Dave over at Fresh Baked, he made a couple of really great videos recently on this subject, and I wanted to kind of go over it with you guys and see what you think, and I'm going to go over my thoughts as well. So basically the case that he made was a lot of the work being done. So reworking the Matterhorn, queue, and the work being done over by the former motorboat area, that little Fantasia Gardens seating area. All of this work kind of points to them prepping for a new Tomorrowland that they would start after Galaxy's Edge opens. Now, in terms of this being prep work for that new Tomorrowland, I disagree with Dave. I actually don't think that any of this has to do with any sort of prepping for a new Tomorrowland. I think the Fantasia Gardens work and the Matterhorn queue area, I think this is all 100% focused on alleviating the congestion for Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. I think that's the only motivation right now for those projects. Okay, but with that said, I do agree with Dave when he says that we're closer now to a new Tomorrowland than we've ever been. I absolutely agree with him on that 100%. I think that a new Tomorrowland is within a few years now. We're very, very close to getting a brand new Tomorrowland. Now, here's the thing though. Here's the caveat to that. It's going to be really between Tomorrowland and Fantasyland. Those are the two areas right now that are up for grabs in terms of a redo, a renovation, right? So those are going to be, one of those two will inevitably be the big project after Galaxy's Edge. Here's the thing. Out of those two options, I think Disney is leaning more towards a new Fantasyland. I do, and that's unfortunate. I love Fantasyland. It's actually my preference. I like it more than Tomorrowland, but my personal preference aside, I think that Tomorrowland needs it a whole lot more. So you're probably thinking, why do you feel that Disney is leaning towards a new Fantasyland? Well, for one reason and one reason only. Franchises, okay? Franchises. When Disney decided to give Star Wars its own land and to give Marvel its own land over at DCA, they sort of tied their hands with both of those franchises. Yes, technically they can bring Marvel and Star Wars into Tomorrowland, but it's a lot harder now. It's a lot more awkward and weird to have these areas dedicated to both franchises and then have like little tidbits in Tomorrowland. It would be weird. So now with Tomorrowland, they're kind of stuck. They can't really use Marvel. They can't really use Star Wars. So what do they use? What can they use in terms of franchises in Tomorrowland? Well, they can do the Tron coaster, which I think they probably will end up doing. They'll rework the track and make it fit for Disneyland. I think that's a given. But then in terms of other franchises, you got like Big Hero 6, WALL-E, Wreck-It Ralph. Big Hero 6 and WALL-E are big. I mean, they were popular movies, but they're not mega franchises, okay? They don't hold a candle to the Fantasyland stuff like Frozen and even Tangled and the Princesses. They don't hold a candle to any of that stuff. So they're not as popular, okay? Wreck-It Ralph is a huge franchise. It's not my cup of tea, but people love Wreck-It Ralph. They really do. So that would maybe be one franchise they could add into Tomorrowland that would be huge. But Fantasyland has way more options for big franchises. And that's why I think that Disney is going to choose Fantasyland over Tomorrowland. But that doesn't mean that, Tomorrowland will never get remodeled or it's going to be a long time. I really don't think it will be a long time. I think that once they wrap up on Fantasyland after Galaxy's Edge, I think the focus will be towards Tomorrowland. It has to be. It has to be. Tomorrowland needs it really bad. So I think Tomorrowland, Dave is absolutely right. I think Tomorrowland, a renovation, a redo, a reboot, whatever you want to call it, a new Tomorrowland, it's coming. It's coming to Disneyland. And we're closer now than we've ever been. I agree with him on that. But unfortunately, I think it's going to have to wait in line behind Fantasyland. I think Fantasyland is going to be the priority because of the franchise money. And it's the reality of the situation, guys. Disney loves the franchises, and that's the direction they're going in. So follow the franchises, okay? It's going to be Fantasyland, I think. after Galaxy's Edge. But what do you guys think? Have you seen Dave's videos on Fresh Baked about all the queue changes in the Matterhorn and the Fantasia Gardens? Do you agree with him that this is prep work for a new Tomorrowland? Do you agree with me though, or do you agree with me where you feel that it's sort of just for Galaxy's Edge and the new Tomorrowland is coming, but this stuff isn't necessarily indicative of that new Tomorrowland? What are your thoughts on this? I would love to hear from you guys on this. Tomorrowland's a really fun subject to discuss, so please comment below. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about Tomorrowland. If you're new to the channel, like, subscribe. I do content on Disney parks all the time. And as always, have a wonderful day.